feel like you have to, you have to do whatever it takes to sort of keep up, as if everything's moving along, and if you don't keep up, you get spit out.
So would you choose to live anywhere else?
Not right now.
Because of your addiction to work?
Yeah, I mean, I love my addiction.
You thrive on it?
I gotta have it.
Is the compulsion always associated with addictive behavior?
Yeah, of course it has to be.
It has to be,
It has to be, because to be addicted, to do something addictively, you have to do it compulsively against all reason. That's you know, we all know what the definition of insanity is, right?
Yes, we all know the definition.
So we won't go there, right? No, but you have to do something compulsively and obsessively. If I go to work 16 hours a day, every day, because I want to make as much money as I possibly can, I'm being obsessive and compulsive about it, and I am demonstrating an addiction to my job.
Okay. And then what happens?
Drug usage had started at a fairly young age for me. Started off real simple, smoking a little pot, drinking on the side. As I got older, progressed into harder drugs, psychedelics, cocaine, pills.
Our clients do not use drugs anymore to try and reach a high, but rather to reach normality in their life. They can't cope.
And then once I did move to Las Vegas and started gambling on a regular basis,
their ability to cope with the issues that they're grappling with, they've lost that ability, and therefore they just anesthetize themselves.
the use of cocaine increased due to the ability to keep you up, and when you're gambling, that's kind of a hand-in-hand tactic you use. The longer you stay up, the more you can gamble, the better chance you have to win.
They use it, and for the while that drug is within them, they feel no emotional pain.
And pretty soon the waitress came up and I said, "Did you hear about that big win across the street this week?" "Oh," she said, "that was as crooked as they come." I said, "No kidding." "Well, how would they do that?" She said, "Well, they picked a bum off the street and put clothes on him and gave him money and told him to sit there and play." So then I pulled that picture out and showed it to her, and her mouth dropped open. She got embarrassed. A lot of people believed that was all crooked. They never saw me before that night, never heard of me or anything. Yeah, well, in '89, I was the largest winner in the history of Las Vegas, and that was quite something then. But since then, a lot of people have beat me out. 10 million, 12 million, 27 million on the same machine.
Then shortly after I turned 21, I won a large sum of money, approximately $17,000 in a 4-day period, which gave me this feeling of immortality, I guess you could say, as far as gambling is concerned. I got the ideology that I was the big winner and I could win anytime I decided to go out and gamble. That was the case for a short time, but shortly thereafter, the tables turned and I was finding myself on the losing end of the gambling idea.
First time I came here was in 1971, and it was a fantasy land. An amusement park for grown-ups, as far as I was concerned. For me, it was a very gradual process. When I moved here, after selling our house back in Ohio, I had no bills. I had several credit cards with zero balances. After about 5 years being in Vegas, I lost my entire retirement savings account. I lost our regular savings account. I had maxed out all the credit cards, and my excellent credit went to zero. I was on the verge of losing my house. They were going to foreclose on my house because I was behind.
There was a lady here working at night as a supervisor on a night paving job. And she'd been down to the New York the night before, playing and lost, didn't say how much. But she said she had a feeling for that machine, and I've heard that before. So she came down the next night, and there was a man playing it constantly, and she just sat there watching him, and he got irritated about it. He said, "Lady, if you want this machine, give me $20 and I'll leave." So she said, "No, I'll wait." So she did. He lost his money. She sat down, and by the time she had almost $100 in it, she hit it. 12 million, I think it was 12,300,000. So I think that was the end of her paving job.
Started to spiral. I was approximately 24 years old, and I was in the banking industry, and due to the volume of money that I was gambling, I had to find alternative means to finance this habit that it became to. And that's when I found myself embezzling money from the bank that I was employed with.
Our culture, our environment, our support bases within the community have changed. Young people grow up today in dysfunctional families, no family support anymore. Father and mother are separated, started their own life. Communities are not involved in young people's lives anymore. So when they hit a crisis in their life, there's no support base. And because they are not equipped to emotionally deal with those issues, they anesthetize themselves.
I do work in a casino hotel here in Las Vegas, and it's a battle every day going in there. The casinos.
My clients say to me that they just can't cope, they can't face tomorrow, they can't face yesterday. And drugs is an escape of having to face those issues, which leads to other problems in their life, namely further severing of ties with family and friends, losing everything that's dear to them, eventually losing self-respect, hate themselves, and it just turns into a vicious circle where they live for the next fix that will numb their pain. And therefore it becomes their God.
I reached in my pocket for my last 20. I'm going to put it in the machine, and I said, I can't do this anymore. It's over. And I got my wife, she was with me, and on the way home I told her, tomorrow morning I'm going to Gamblers Anonymous. Would you like to come with me? And being a compulsive gambler, we're very manipulative. And we're con artists. I took care of all the finances. And her reply to me was, what for? Do you have a problem? I said, I have a big problem. She had no idea that the house was 3 months behind. She had no idea that the credit cards were all behind. And the next morning I made the phone call. And that was the beginning of a new life for me.
I don't know about food, but certainly when it comes, when it comes to like alcohol and drugs, it's a way of becoming not them.
Yes.
Not, I don't want to be me, therefore I can check out and go this other route, and all of a sudden I'm funny, I'm fun to be with, people seem to like me.
Man, I love this town. I wouldn't move out of here for anything. It keeps you, I think it keeps you young. There's something new going on here all the time. If it isn't all the new people you see, it's the new buildings. Every time you turn around, there's a new building going up. If you don't go down the street within 3 months, there's another one. You don't know where you are.
They have all those trays made into metal. So you hear them every time somebody's winning, they're clanking down all around you. And you figure, well, I can do that too. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. They want that herd. And the drinks are free. Every time they'll bring coffee to you.
It's not one of those things that you can just give up on your own. It's definitely a support issue type of disease where you have to work a particular program and follow a daily regiment of keeping yourself strong, putting yourself in a good group of people that are going to support you. But every day you have these urges to go out there and maybe to do something. But in time, I think it'll pass me by. Yeah, Vegas does have that allure to it that that no other city that I've been to has. It's a 24-hour town. It's the only place where you can wake up at midnight, 2 in the morning, and if you want to go out somewhere and do something, you're more than able to find something.
Yeah, I met a couple widows on the Queen Elizabeth crossing over to London, and I'm going with one of them now, and the other one I see occasionally. But I don't know whether they like me for who I am or for the jackpot I won.
2,000 people a day come for the February the 14th, get married. And there's people come from all over the world just to here to get married. Those who can afford to do it, you know.
When I was gambling, I didn't think. I just acted. Something in me said you had to go out there and play. And I stayed there as long as the money lasted. It didn't matter. No sense of responsibility. It didn't matter if the mortgage was due, if the car payment was due, if the light bill was due, or even if we needed groceries. I would gamble as long as I could.
Well, at first, when you start to become, I guess we can say, addictive or out of control, I guess out of control is the actions that precede the addiction. There's not much thought in there, at least there wasn't for myself. It was more of a numb feeling. You're just out there and you're doing these things. There's absolutely no control. As far as a feeling, I think it's just no feeling.
A young man came in. He needed contact with his family, he needed his family support. We found his father, who was not interested at all. He said, if my son can prove to me after 2 years that he's drug-free, I'll allow him back at home. 2 months later, I had the father in my counselling office, this time for counselling for himself, because during that period, his son had overdosed and died. In the beginning, he was too afraid that his son would steal his VCR and TV. Now, he said to me, if only I'd listened. He could have everything as long as I could have my son back, but it's too late. That not involvement with our young people is one of the main reasons why young people turn away to addictive habits.
There were times that, one time in particular, I sat on the side of the bed with a gun in my hand because I couldn't stand what I was doing to myself and I couldn't stop. Many times coming out of a casino after swearing I would never do this again and losing whatever money I brought, going back to the ATM machine 4 or 5 times, I would walk out with my head held high, no one knew. And when I got to the car, the tears would start flowing. I'd start beating the steering wheel, asking myself, why? Why did you do it again?
A young lady walked into our centre. She came to the streets of Cabramatta to buy a big amount of drugs for an overdose. That morning she phoned her mother and begged her to tell her, Mom, just tell me that you love me. Her mom being so tired of all the promises and the years that her daughter spent on drugs that she said to her, oh, I wish that you would go down to Cabramatta and just buy enough drugs and end your life. And that's exactly what she came to do, to fulfill the wishes of her mother. Luckily, an agency stepped in, formed a support base for this young lady. Today she's drug-free.
You look around you, you watch TV, you look at advertising, you look around, you've got extreme sports, you've got extreme street, you've got just extreme everything. Music is extreme. And I think that drives the younger generation a lot, this extreme lifestyle. And I think with gambling, it fits hand in hand in there.
Strange, but it's true that the addict trying to get off from drugs at the age of 45 has to face exactly the same issues that they tried to run away from by using drugs at the age of 16. The problems hadn't gone away. Drugs had anesthetized it, but actually compounded the problems. But now at the age of 45, they've got to deal with the same issues, this time without drugs. How can they do it? Only if they have a support base.
So I kid people about winning. I said, well, if I don't win, there's something wrong with that machine.
At first, gambling is very social, it's relaxing, it's fun, it's entertainment. But if you lose sight of what is going on with that, you can very easily get caught up, and one thing leads to another, and you're broke, you're committing crimes, you're doing drugs, and it's easy to get caught up in this game of cat and mouse with gambling.
Addictions has a lot to do more than just illicit drugs. It also has to do with power play. The ability to, or the want, the need to control people. The addiction of power through money. The addiction of power through education, through religion.
Well, you don't often hear about them. They come out here in an automobile or plane and they go home on a bus. If they can afford the bus. They don't publicize things like that. But they do publicize big winners. Yeah.
I was sitting here thinking as I was looking out over the mountains, and probably while I was gambling, I don't recall ever coming out here, only after I stopped. Not too far from here is the Valley of Fire. It's beautiful out there. It's beautiful here. Never took advantage of it until after I stopped gambling.
No, some of the high rollers, especially some of them from Korea, owe them all kinds of money. They get back there and stay there. They owe them millions.
Anything that I use in my life, substance, power, or person, to be able to cope, that becomes my addictive agent in my life. So in other words, if I'm trying to run away from the past, if I can't deal with the present self, and I use the power to overrule and to control others, that becomes the addictive agent in my life.
And you always have to go through the machines to get to where you're going to eat. Or the restroom. You have to pass the machines.
So that addictive behavior has tunnel vision them into knowing that that means that they're valuable,
That's
or
their,
that's important.
right, that's
and
their whole
that's
sense of self-worth.
their demonstration of love also. But on the other hand, you know, you have these kids and their families completely suffering in their absence. I mean, because there's just no availability emotionally. So the addictive behavior almost makes them completely blind to what is what. And I guess that would transfer into anything.
No different in whatever behaviour you take. You know, I mean,
true.
It's not necessarily the fact that you've taken copious amounts of alcohol, you know, and you know you're unavailable because you're drunk, or you're unavailable because you're high, or you're unavailable because you've locked yourself in a bathroom and throwing Snickers bars down your throat.
The problem with
it's just you're emotionally you're unavailable to yourself. Therefore, you can't see the better path to take. And that's
once again, we come around to lack of spirituality.
If no intervention is made in an alcoholic or drug addict's life, their children has a 60% chance to go into that same cycle. What does it mean to make intervention? I believe that intervention means to address the issues that has led to drug use, to deal with the issues of the damaged self-worth, to unpack that emotional baggage they've been carrying, to look for alternatives and answers to those negatives, and help them to step into a healthy lifestyle, helping them to make right decisions, giving them coping mechanisms, giving them employment. The moment a drug addict becomes drug-free, they don't know what to do with their time. So you immediately have to arrest that time factor and help them to use their time effectively. And then, once again, coming back to the building and rebuilding of the person's self-worth, to give them a value and a standing in society.
During the war, people took my place and they were killed. And so I guess I was lucky. And during the war, I was in 4 years and 3 months. Instead of going to Europe, they didn't send me there, they didn't send me to Japan. They sent me to the Caribbean.
The most important thing to me is the peace of mind, little serenity that I have. For an example, when I wake up in the morning, I look forward to each day. When I was out there, I used to pray that when I go to sleep, I wouldn't wake up. And I look forward to each day now. And each day is a challenge. And I can handle anything that life hands me today. At least I believe that. Without having to go destroy myself.
One thing, I never got my nose up in the air. I was just the same person. And I very seldom fly first class. I like to be back there where I can talk to people and see what's going on.
You don't have enough time for me to talk about my grandchildren. I got 7 of the most beautiful grandbabies in the world. And I love them.
Because people respond to damaged self-worth, they become the product of that quite often which they hate the most. Instead of running away from our past, why not accept it and use it as a stepping stone and to make a difference for the future generation by taking the step out of the cycle of addiction into a new life.
But I kid people, I said, you know, when my payments run out, I'm going to have to start looking for a job.
I don't care to refer to anything, but I will say that for me there was almost nothing I would do to get more money to gamble.
I feel that if nothing changes, nothing changes. I can stop gambling maybe, but if I don't do anything else in my life, then I'm still going to lead the same type of life I was leading before. So I have to change. And with that change comes peace, serenity.
The alternative to using power is to realize that I am a unique human being. I'm special, I've got value. I do not need to use anything or any person in order for me to receive that uniqueness or to attain that uniqueness. I have that uniqueness within myself. I do not need to react and respond to the negatives coming out of my childhood. I can walk away from that, using that as a learning lesson and become a new human being.
I have no business down there. Be putting myself in a bad position. I don't want to test or tempt myself. So if I have no business down there, there's no need to go. It's all about choices and being happy with myself. And I'm finally happy with me.
Every single day to pray and
It's weeks and sometimes years to move from one lifestyle to another lifestyle within the very lifestyle that we're trying to escape.
Emotionally